We are all in the business of sales, whether we like it or not, whether we've got the title or not. If you're a business leader, you need to sell in the vision for the business. If you are a marketer, you need to sell in the idea for a new campaign, product, or service. And even if you're a parent, you need to sell the idea of how good veggies taste to your kids. At the same time, selling often has this negative connotation to it. Today, we're joined by somebody who is changing the game, who is using stories to make sales not only more effective, but also more efficient and less salesy and icky. Charles Hsuan is joining us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Petra, the pleasure is mine. I interviewed you a few months ago, so today I am in the hot seat.
You are, and honestly, your interview was one of the best in my entire life because you came prepared, you asked me questions, nobody else asked me, you did your research and dug all the details out that nobody else knew. So I'm really looking forward to flip the script and ask you all the questions.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done your homework too, and I appreciate you saying that. That for me is the biggest compliment from my guests, that they feel like I took the time to understand them and to do the research and make the notes. So thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, absolutely. And this is probably also one of your key secrets why you are so successful in sales, because most people associate sales with being icky and I don't want to be rejected and it's horrible and I don't want to be the used car salesperson. I'm curious, what got you into the sales profession?
By accident, like totally by accident. So unofficially, I have been in sales my whole life. The reason why I say that is growing up as a kid, I have ADD, which is attention deficit disorder, and I took Ritalins. So I was always getting into trouble, and I had to talk my way out of trouble. And if I said the right thing, then nothing would happen. But if I say the wrong thing, or if I didn't have a good enough reasoning, then I'll get smacked by my parents. Or the worst thing as a kid, my mother will say, wait until your dad gets home. And the whole day you sit there, you go, oh no, and you're just waiting, because you know you're going to get smacked. So that's unofficially. And also I had a moment of clarity back in university. So when I was so we have our degrees are 3 years. In America is 4, because we follow the British one. I live in South Africa, just for your listeners to know. So in my 3rd year, we had one of the subject, which was commercial law. And we get a rewrite if you are falling within a certain percentage. And I needed 2%, 2 more points to pass. So I went there to check the papers, and it's December, and I really didn't feel like, my friends are already on holiday. So I said to the professor, sir, it's Christmas, it's the time of giving. I'm very sure you already have your holiday booked up. You don't want to mark another paper and go through that. So what do you say? And he looks at me, he just waved me off and said, okay, go. And I passed because of that. And that's when I realized there is power in words. There's power in words. And later on, I got into the sales profession, and I just started learning officially in 2004. I've been in the sales game in different industry, in insurance, in finance, in advertising. So I learned different skills along the way. So that's how I got into it, and I realized I was pretty good at it, and started teaching my colleagues, and I started going solo in 2017 and turning into a business. So basically, I took all I have learned, I made notes over the years, because it is something that it's a transferable skill. It's like cooking. I can teach you how to cook. Not all of us will be world-class Michelin, but you will learn how to make a meal. And cooking, not cooking, and sales is the same thing.
I love this example, because in the end, you had heightened awareness of what's going on, what was your weakness, ADHD, and how can you get out of it, but then also the benefits of learning how to do it. And, even just picking up on this one example where you had to talk your way out from the exam, like what kind of child has this level of awareness? So kudos to you. I love it.
Thank you.
Now, we talked a little bit about the negative association and the connotation with sales. Why is that? And what is your take on it?
That's a great question. So let me give you an example. So let's do a word play. If I have to say to you, give me a few adjectives to describe an average salesperson, what comes to mind? Pushy?
Well, usually the bad things.
Okay, pushy, what else?
Slimy, dishonest, just very egocentric. It's all in for them.
Okay, self-centered, egotistic, slimy, pushy. Those are average salesperson. But let me change it by asking you, if I had to say to you, somebody is a professional salesperson, what will be some of the adjectives that you use to describe them? Perhaps something that's prepared, curious, prepared, yeah.
Prepared, interested, consultative, caring, genuine, transparent.
All the good things, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if I had to ask your listeners, which one would you want to be, average sales? I'm pretty sure everybody will say no. Everybody will say we want to be a professional salesperson. Power of words. I change one word, average versus professional. So it's not a bad connotation. It's just the people that are phoning you are bad salespeople. That's why they have a bad sales reputation. And that's why I say it's a skill that can be taught. It's a skill that can be taught. And the reason why I've noticed that people are not good at sales in general is we've never been taught in school. In school, you're taught to have one right answer, and then you have to do certain things. You have to toe the line to get the right marks. But in school, they never teach you sales. They don't teach you this in university either. So all of a sudden, let's say you study to be an accountant, or you study to be a graphic designer, or a doctor, or whatever field you choose. You've never been taught how to sell. You have product knowledge, and now you have to go sell. Of course, you're bad.
Yeah.
Right? That's my take on it. Yeah, that's my take on it, because you've never been taught that skill. However, we all have that skill in us. Think about if a 5-year-old doesn't get what, if a 5-year-old wants something, what do? They ask.
They ask a lot.
And if they don't get it, they ask again. And if they don't get it, again and again and again until they get it, right? But somewhere down the line, I don't know if this has ever happened to you before. My parents have certainly said it to me before. Don't ask. It's rude. It's rude to ask. Have they ever said that to you, or have you ever heard people tell that to the kids? No, don't be so demanding. Don't ask. Like it's rude to ask for a gift or something, and you get told that it's a bad thing, so you stop asking. So selling is the same thing. It's just selling is asking in a different way. It's asking politely. It's using certain words. So what I have noticed is the difference between an average or a novice salesperson versus a professional salesperson. There's one distinctive characteristic, and that is professional salespeople. They know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. That's the main distinction. And it's a skill that we can all learn.
I agree. And I would add not just what we can learn, but what we have to learn, especially now heading into the gig economy. We've got more competition around us than ever before. And you're right, we can be the best at what we're doing. That doesn't mean that we are recognized for it, because it comes down to, if I can sum up what you just said, strong communication skills. Full stop. Listening, active listening, but then also saying what you need to say at the time that you need to say it.
Absolutely. And look, it will take trial and error. It will definitely take trial and error, because no people are the same. We all have different backgrounds, different education, different sensitive points, different trigger words that makes us defensive. So it's trial and error. But at the same time, if you look at, we basically have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a specific reason. Now we need to listen and then speak. Now, salespeople that I get a lot of times is, especially with the telesales people, when they're trying to phone you, I get so irritated with them. I don't know if that's the same in Australia. Telemarketing. Do they have telemarketing?
Plenty of them.
And what do? They do not ask you a single question. They start jamming things down your throat. So why should I, if you make it all by yourself, why should I give you the time of day? No, thank you. That's the mistake that I see people make the whole time.
And I think it's also rude to be called at, say, 7 o'clock in the evening when you sit down, when you have dinner, when you just want to chill, and then we want to sell you something, basically. And we've not given anyone permission. And I think nowadays we usually text or email or, have this asynchronous communication that we can answer in our own time. Whereas a phone call, I find it so disruptive. I mean, I don't like phone calls.
Right?
It's very, yes. And it disrupts you in what you're doing. And to be honest, I've never liked phone calls, not even in recruitment time. I actually never did it either because it didn't work for me, but it's not the communication of our time, in my idea anyway. But that leads us into the next question. In today's world, what does a successful and professional sales process actually look like?
This is my observation, right? And people are free to agree or disagree. But what I find that helps the most is educational based.
Yes.
So educational based, giving people a choice. If we think about how we have, let's use the example that we both have experience with, Leanne giving you a shout out. How do we come to know about Leanne? It's not by her promoting and selling and selling and selling. It's her by educating. I heard about Leanne the first time, I think it was 2-3 years ago. She got invited to speak at an event, and then I heard it. Then I started following her. That's how I started, and not just her by spamming or pushing hard, yamming things down the throat. So when it comes to selling, educate educate your clients and give them content that is relevant to what they have to do. If it's not relevant, doesn't matter how great your marketing message is, it won't work. So as an example, if you think about life insurance, for somebody that's 18 or 19, it's not relevant to them because my life is just starting. But if you're speaking to an 80-year-old, 90-year-old, yeah, your timeline is getting close. So maybe they'll consider a little bit more. Or if you're speaking about, let's say, marriage, if you speak to somebody that's 20 about marriage, it's not going to, they probably don't think about it. But perhaps people in their late 20s, late 30s, it's the same thing. It needs to be relevant and it needs to be educational based. This is just my own, what I have seen that works with clients. So the clients that I work with, I've heard this over and over again. Like after the after our first discovery call, the first thing they'll say is, the reason why I want to work with you is because you're not trying to sell me anything. You really take the time to understand what we are going through. That's how I know. Powerful. That's just from experience. That's how, yeah, because these are their lyrics. They will tell me straight. I don't even ask them. They said to me, the reason why I want to speak to you again is you're never trying to sell me anything. You're trying to really understand us. And I've experienced it myself. So let me give you another example. So you tell me what you would do. So back in 2015, I dislocated my shoulder like more than 6 times. And it was getting worse because I was in my mid-30s, right? And it is very, very painful. So I decided to go see a specialist. I went to 2 doctors. The first doctor said, no, surgery. What about rehab? No, surgery. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 10 years. I operate weekly. But what about no rehab? No rehab, surgery. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get a second opinion. And the receptionist was shocked, but he's the best at what he does. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going for a second opinion. Second doctor listens to me, did diagnosis and said to me, you have 2 options. I know you enjoy sports. I know you enjoy boxing. So you have 2 options. You can either carry on, do rehab, but the chances of you re-injuring is great and it will get worse with age. Second option is we can do a surgery. Your shoulder will never be 100%, but it will be better than now. Now, which doctor do you think I chose?
First one for sure.
You know, that's what I'm talking about. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Give us an option, but he educated me the pros and cons and let me make my own. He never forced sell me anything. The first guy was just like surgery, cut. The second guy said, here's your 2 options. You make up your mind. And I'm very grateful I went for the surgery.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a good point that we are not just pushing our opinion onto somebody. It's all about asking more questions and also understanding where people are at in their own journey and also often addressing objections early on. I see that you're not quite comfortable with moving on. What is the issue? What is the concern of you? People don't want to actually be rejected. And this is why you're not asking the questions. And often people would say, oh, I actually don't know what the objection would be, or we can't just pay right now, but we could pay in installments or next month. So all of a sudden we come up with a solution. And you said at
Absolutely.
the very beginning, it's all about the questions. Kids ask over and over and over again, and we stop asking because one person said no. It's like, oh, I'm out of here. And this is the wrong approach.
Yeah, speaking about rejections. I mean, we were speaking about this before we recorded. Nobody likes rejection, you know. I see it as it's trial and error. It gives me a chance to reflect. Okay, so if I looked at the way I have positioned or pitched my business over the past 4 years, it's changed because I've seen what works and what doesn't. So if I start trying 4 years ago, it would not have evolved. And it's literally trial and error. So if when somebody gives you a rejection, either you haven't really found out what their pain point is or what they see as value, or what you are selling to them is to the wrong audience. So that's two different things. So speaking about objections, it could be the wrong time. So let's say if you meet up with somebody, and in South Africa, most of the companies, they have their financial year end at end of February. So if I go there on the 25th of February, they will say no, because it's the wrong time. It doesn't mean your service is not valid. You just have to move this into the next financial year. So absolutely, it's very, very important to find out all these questions. Like what do you, like a simple question, like when I meet up with clients, the first question I ask them is, Petra, why is today a good time to meet? Why did you choose today to meet me instead of next month or next year? And they will tell you, oh, you know, because we realized that we've been wanting to do training and we don't have a full team. Now the timing is right. Then you find out, and when you ask people things like that, they will have to justify their answer because they don't like to waste their own time. So if they tell you why today is a good time, why is it the right time to meet you, they already sold it to themselves.
True.
So that's just how I see you smiling. So you're more than welcome to use that line.
I just want to say, the mental note.
that is just something that I find very effective because this is what I speak to clients about. Why is it a good time? They'll think about it, they'll give you different answers. Perhaps that, you know, we tried different sales training, it didn't work. Then I ask them, okay, how long ago was it? What did you cover in it? Why was it not effective in your case? Oh, the facilitator was boring. It was just theory based. It was like lecture style. Pinpoint. So make sure when you propose something, don't be like that. So as an example, I'll tell people it will be 30% theory, 70% practical. You're not going to be sitting, you're going to be up there drawing things, then they start getting excited. We'll be playing your favorite playlist while we work, get them to see the picture. Questioning is very, very important. Asking the right questions.
And, you know, in traditional marketing, this is what we call objection-based marketing, that you basically address an objection before your prospect can actually come up with it. You think it's too expensive? Well, think again, because we've got the payment plan and whatsoever, then we come up with the solution, because this also shows us you actually care about me. You know where I'm at with my thoughts and what my concerns are, and I don't even have to address them. So with that, we trust somebody a lot more. But again, it comes down to, I think, also the confidence that we say, you think it's too expensive? Because often we think that we are not good enough if we are charging that much when we get the no. But you're right, it comes down to the communication of the value that I can create. Now, I'm curious.
You know, what you just said. Sorry, I just want to add on to what you just said about like the example that you used about the payment plan, and you broke it down for them. So you preempt what some of the objections are. So I work with a client. She was in edutech. She was developing an app. What we came up with, I actually stole the idea from one of the well-known tech companies. And we basically, because she was a startup at the time, and one of the slides that we came up with is 10 reasons why this business will not work. Now people will be like, first of all, your investors is not expecting you to tell them why it will not work, but in there you actually list out all the objections that they have.
Exactly.
So that's just another way of flipping it. This is my business idea. I'll tell you why it won't work. Perhaps we won't find the right funders. Perhaps we won't be able to scale. Perhaps we don't have the right experience. Basically, I've emptied all my dirty laundry to show you I have thought about it. So what other questions do you have for me? That changes everything around, because they can see, okay, this person has actually thought it through.
Yes, and it also makes
Just
it a
as
lot
an
more
example.
tangible, because when you say not the right funders, for example, like, well, we are the funding group, we are the right people, tick in the box, move on to the next one, because we naturally want to find a solution. Also, when we open with a question, we are opening the story loop rather than just saying, buy this from me. It's like, what is it that you want the most? So now we are thinking of all the different ways that I actually want to purchase something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, nowadays, we all need to do more, sell in. If it's as a gig worker that we are contracting to an organization, if we set up our own business, and currently there's the conversation about the great resignation, that more and more professionals exit the permanent workforce and starting their own business. What is a good way to actually get started with the process? When I know I've got this consulting package or this coaching program that I want to offer, how do I actually go about finding the right prospects and then starting the conversation without getting rejected straight away before we can even make the conversation?
So are you saying that for somebody that left their job and for somebody that's starting their own business?
Yes, exactly. Or they might even want to find a contract with another organization, but they need to sell themselves in.
Okay, so you are a personal branding expert, so I'll leave that part to you. So let's say you've already done your personal branding, you've already got your website. Now you have to actually make the phone call to cold calls to get an appointment. And by the way, for listeners out there, right? If you as a business owner, if you don't sell, you do not eat.
Yes.
Okay, get that through your head. You don't sell, you don't eat. If you own a business, you don't sell, your employers don't eat. So leave your shyness at the door, unless you want to be waiting in the queue for, I don't know, for what do they call it, government funds or state support.
Yes.
You don't make sales, you don't eat. Okay, that's number one. Get that through your head. The second thing is, it's find out what your solution is, who's it for, and be as specific as possible. So let me give you an example. Let's say if let's say I used to work for a company, but I have a passion for personal training, and which is you used to be a personal trainer, right, Petra? If I remember correctly. So let's use that as an example. So let's say, I'm tired of corporate life. I joined the Great Resignation, so I'm going to be a personal trainer. But there's so many personal trainers out there. So let me give you 3 examples how you can specialize it. First one is people ask you, what do you do? I help you get fitter. Okay, that's very broad. And then you go a step further, is I help you run your first marathon. Now you have narrowed it down for people. Now you can train people that only want to run marathon. And now you can niche down even further to say, I help over 30-year-olds run their first marathon. Now it's gone down even further. But guess what? It is very niche, and it will speak to a specific group of people. So that's what I will encourage them to do. Niche it down as much as you can, and then go out and test it out there. That's the only way you're going to know. Speak to people and see if there's actually a market. See if people are willing to pay for it. That's the only thing. We don't have a magic 8-ball. If we have a magic 8-ball, me and you, we won't be speaking right now. I'll be so freaking wealthy, because I will know the every next step. I'll be buying the right stock on the stock market every single time, but I cannot read the future.
Yes.
So it is ready from niching down. When I gave you that example of the personal trainer, I saw you got it because I saw your eyes lit up. So you can niche it down in different ways. But that's the personal example. The personal trainer example I just thought of because you were a personal trainer, so you can relate to that.
So true. And everyone actually needs to specialize and learn how to specialize properly to actually get through the noise. This is what we actually work in the branding phase. What is it that you know for sure that makes you different, and who do you actually want to work with? Because we can all do different things and work with different people, but it doesn't mean that it is aligned to you and what lights you up, and also what you can actually do the best that nobody else can do. And this is also when we can be referred very easily, because if you say, well, who is the best personal trainer? It's like, no idea, because you would know so many that nobody would actually come to mind. Whereas if you say, I really want to run my first marathon, I need help, who do you know? Somebody who's just talking about this one topic over and over again. Of course, this person stands out. And it doesn't mean that we have to stick there. We can always go broad once we've actually gone through the wall. When we have got some momentum, we can always go broader, but too many are starting way too broad and want to target every single person on this earth, and then wonder why they don't get any traction, because they're seen as a generalist.